Imagine you're next to a cute girl that's out of your league and you can't tell whether she likes you or not. The age-old dilemma. She doesn't talk to you, she doesn't sit too close, she's avoidant of eye contact. So she's basically checked all the boxes of being uninterested, right? But what if I told you that there's actually a very high chance that she does like you, but you intimidate her? Especially if you're generally quiet and reserved, but still confident in some regards like I am. For example, if you hit gym and speak out confidently in class and can handle basic conversation, you might actually just be coming across as stoic instead of awkward. So in this video, I'll go over the one mindset shift that you have to start making to see social situations for what they are instead of what your social anxiety makes them to be. So for example, noticing that a girl is nervous around you and actually likes you instead of being uninterested. How to actualize this mindset so that it stays. Then finally, one easy action step that will allow you to stop being so intimidating without looking like a pushover and let her talk to you. But quickly, just before we begin, let me quickly introduce myself just so you know I'm not bullshitting you and talking out my ass. I'm Benji, and I used to be probably the quietest kid at school. I used to have shit mental health, analyze everything, overthink every social interaction, and in fact I even got voted at the end of my school year to be the person with a double life, simply because I did not speak a single word at school until I discovered self-improvement. And from then on, I've been improving all sectors of my life, including my charisma, confidence, social skills. And that has single-handedly led me to doing a lot of weird and uncomfortable things. Forcing myself to talk to strangers, forcing myself to talk to pretty girls, forcing myself to ask my crush out through a lot of different ways from a lot of different books, podcasts. And so now I try my best to help people get over their social anxiety, get the respect that they deserve, actually start talking to that girl that they want to. So without further ado, let's get started with the first mindset shift. I want to explain to you a very fascinating story of when this first happened to me. I walk into the classroom and obviously I'm gonna go to my own comfortable seat in my own comfortable table with my own comfortable people on it. But here's the thing. Today was a little bit different because our seating plan changed, but not in the way you would think. The teacher didn't have like a pre-planned seating plan. She literally just told us, go find someone in the room you haven't talked to and go sit next to them for this activity we're about to do. And so me and my friend, whenever the teacher decides to throw this on us, we would always go with the tactic of literally just sitting in the same place and seeing who would move to our table or who would move into the seat next to us. And so that's exactly what I did. And I see everyone backing up, everyone getting their notebooks into their bags, moving to the outside of the classroom. I see groups of people that are friends on one table move literally to just another table on the other side of the classroom. So really nothing's changed. And then this is where it got a little bit fascinating. You see, this girl that I say is pretty cute and that I've actually talked to her quite a few times, just a few exchanges here and there. And so the both of us knew each other. But here's the thing, she sat on my table, but moved to the seat next to me. So normally this would be fine, right? I wouldn't think much of it. Maybe she doesn't want to move across the classroom too much, or maybe she likes me. That was in the back of my head. And then it all had to go downhill because of one other girl. Let's just say that she's more of a friend type of vibe. And so this friend decides, because she's like a very outgoing and outspoken person, decides to say the name of the girl that moved next to me. I think you're very fond of Benji. Because actually I didn't tell you this detail, but she was also coming for the seat next to me. Well, actually, now that I remember, the outgoing girl, she wanted literally my seat. She told me to move. And it seemed like they were conflicting and arguing for a seat in my position or maybe next to me. I'm not entirely sure because it was a while ago. So obviously from hearing this statement, I was a little bit shocked that she could even go ahead and say that, because that just violated my comfort zone. So I deny this statement and I reject it, and I give the friend type girl a look because I'm feeling the awkward air. And so the lesson continues. Teachers asking us random ass questions, because I think it was the last lesson of term and then we have a holiday, right? So the last lesson is going to be a little bit more easygoing than the rest. And so we did a bunch of quizzes, a bunch of fun and easy questions. But here's the thing. Throughout all of this activity, I noticed something about the girl I was with. And it was that a lot of her behavior or the way she acted, or the way she spoke to me, the way she asked me questions. A lot of it was kind of weird. Let me give you an example. Let's say she asks me a question, looks me dead in the eyes, I answer, but as I'm answering the question, she just kind of looks away and kind of acts like she never asked the question in the first place, and she does that multiple times. Another example could be trying to talk to me, give some comment to me in my direction, but never actually fully looks me in the eyes. So at that time, I thought that she was very spontaneous, volatile. Maybe she has like TikTok brain or some shit. Maybe this is her personality. And so what I failed to realize is that she very possibly and probably could be shy at that moment, could be nervous under the immense pressure that some other girl accused her of liking me. And that just completely passed my mind. And this is the revelation. I just look back on all of my experiences and all of my interactions in the past with strangers or women, and whenever they acted weird, I just thought of all of their behavior and all of their actions as what if they're nervous? What if they're shy? And all of it started to make sense. I was so fixated on trying to get the other person to like me or show my best self and where I put my fucking hand that I didn't even realize that the other person could possibly and probably be as nervous or even more nervous as me. That girl in that scenario that sat next to me probably was feeling for that entire lesson how I felt when I was really young next to my crush. Shy as fuck, palms sweating, heartbeat racing, adrenaline, and hoping for the lesson to end. So now you might be starting to get the gist of this mindset shift, but to fully understand and start to actualize this mindset, you have to first get the bigger picture. And I'm gonna explain the bigger picture with boxing. Bear with me a moment. When the Russian boxer Dmitry Bivol faced Canelo Alvarez, the Mexican boxer, which was considered unbeatable at the time, most people would put him on this unreachable pedestal, that he's this heavy hitter, godlike man. But what did Dmitry Bivol say?
He's a good fighter, but he's a man, and he had lost and draw. It means if you believe in your skills, if you are good boxer, you could make him one more loss.
And so without rambling on so many details, that's essentially the same approach you have to talk to everyone with. They're just another person. They're just another woman. They're just another man. You see, the main problem here is we automatically build people up in our heads to be more than what they actually are. We assume that everyone has this perfect state of mental health, that they don't have any negative thoughts, any weird thinking patterns that make them really depressed, because we can't feel what they're feeling and we can't think what they're thinking. And so when you take them off the pedestal of being this perfect person and realize that they have their own insecurities, in fact probably more insecurities, the prettier they are, the more confident they are, it becomes a lot easier to face them. Whether that's in the ring or in a normal conversation or asking the girl out. So how do you take them off the pedestal then? Well, instead of daydreaming, zoning out, or pretending to be busy doing a task or focusing on the work, you observe. And when I mean observe, I don't mean in a weird Terminator type of way. Just be aware of your surroundings, and instead of focusing attention on how you feel inside or what should I do next, you focus attention on the outside, on what other people are doing, on the person you've put on a pedestal. Because when you look at people, you get to see their nervous body language. You get to see their mistakes in their speech. You get to see maybe their trembles, their little stutters, and you actually get to see them for who they are instead of not looking at them. And that then just leads your mind to make up all of these false conclusions for that person you put on a pedestal. A prime example of this would be the resting bitch face. Imagine you see that someone has a resting bitch face and you immediately think to yourself that that person is really serious, I probably shouldn't look at them. If I look at them and I try to speak to them, they'll probably reject me right away. But then when you actually talk to the person with a resting bitch face, you'll find that most of the time their inner self or how they respond to you doesn't reflect their resting bitch face. They're actually a very, very nice person. And so that just goes to show you how many fucking thousands of lies that your mind gives you simply by you not having evidence that that person you put on a pedestal or that stranger is scared of you, is nervous, is human, is not perfect. And you can get that evidence by looking at the fucking other person, looking at when they answer questions in class, looking at when they're put on the spot. Because once you see the person you put on a pedestal, maybe it's a popular kid that's really, really charismatic most of the time, maybe it's that crush you have. You see them stumbling, you see them stuttering, you see their nervous body language, that makes you automatically think that, oh shit, they're so seemingly perfect, they're so pretty, but they crack under pressure as well. They are nervous as well. And so I can be nervous. Now, that said, just telling you to observe isn't really that actionable. It's kind of like a weird, vague philosophy that, oh, how do I even observe? So here's a couple of common scenarios that throughout the next couple of days, if you experience these scenarios, make sure to be aware and fully present in these scenarios, observing people. Just watch people and start to see how things work. First scenario is when you're hanging out with your friends. Let's say you have a group of friends, or maybe if you don't have like a current group of friends that you go out with a lot, maybe hit up your old friends and then see the group dynamic there. Hang out with them a little bit, and whenever there is a little bit of internal conflict, whether there's a little bit of drama in the group, maybe there's an argument in the group chat, notice how people respond. Notice that some people in the group chat that are seemingly confident, seemingly have loads of friends in real life, maybe they have some weak spots when they're highly emotional and in arguments with friends. Maybe one friend's really subject to emotions, maybe another friend holds grudges really easily, maybe another friend is very, very insecure very easily and doesn't like to be seen, and maybe has some insecurities about his body. Now, the second scenario is observe people when they get called out in class, whether they have to speak in a presentation in front of the whole class, whenever a person has to speak in front of an audience. And just notice, at least for myself, this happens literally like every time. A person that you put on the pedestal maybe sits around you, sits on your table and acts very confident, right? Maybe they have a lot of friends, but as soon as they go into making a group presentation and they're called to the front of the class next to the whiteboard and they have to speak their ideas and their presentation to the rest of the class, all of those acts break away. You'll spot that their usual free, relaxed body language isn't there anymore, and you'll maybe find them standing like this, and maybe you'll find that they're a little bit more constricted and they're taking turns with speaking, and you can tell that they hope for the presentation to end. This gives you proof that they are just men. They are just people. Now, another quick way that I found to get people off the pedestal is actually with eye contact. Become the guy that relentlessly gives eye contact to everyone and make that a normal thing. Make that a part of you. Make that just like a normal thing you do, like breathing. Make that second nature. Because once you start to just give eye contact to everyone, whether it's walking past someone in a hallway or walking past someone on the way to school, on the street, if you start to give eye contact to everyone, and this is from my own experience, you start to see that most people are actually scared to look you straight in the eyes for like more than 2 seconds. Even the people that know you a little bit, even the people in your class that you've talked to once or twice before, even your classmates. In fact, sometimes people are so scared to look you back in the eyes that they don't even do it at all, and they choose to just stare at a straight path because they're scared and they don't want to look you in the eyes in case, I don't know, they fuck up and look awkward or some shit. Because many times now I've looked at someone for like 5 or 6 seconds straight just to see if they would look back, and so I can like say hi to them or give them a head nod because I talked to them once before, so why not talk to them again and say hi, right? But most of the time, these people never actually look back. But you may be wondering, how do I know that they're scared and not just uninterested? Because maybe someone is looking straight ahead because they're just uninterested, or maybe they're daydreaming and just don't care. Fair enough, good point. Some people do actually just daydream and just zoning out in class. That's fair enough. But once again, if you do what I tell you beforehand, which is observe, be present in the moment, you'll notice something called micro expressions on people's faces. It's essentially when a person pretends to be something they aren't. It's when a very nervous person pretends to be reserved, pretends to not care, pretends to be confident, but then deep down inside, they're actually so nervous that that act of being confident and reserved falls apart, and they slip up and show a micro expression on their face, whether that be like a very fast head turn, darting eyes, a slight raised eyebrow. A micro expression reveals what you truly feel inside. This is also what they think about in poker. I've never played poker before, but I'm sure you've heard of the term poker face, right? And I've seen in James Bond, when they're playing poker, they have to read each other's faces to read how their opponent's feeling, because maybe they have a really good card and they're feeling really joyous about it. They feel like they're gonna win, and that allows you to play the game better because you know what your opponent's feeling. So, without rambling on for too long, here's the main takeaways for this mindset shift. There is always more going on in a person than what meets the eye. Girls, even the pretty ones, are probably more shy around you than you are around them. As long as you're not like a clear pushover and have like no respect for yourself, you don't groom yourself in a nice way, you smell like shit. Everyone is fucked up inside one way or another. I actually think that's a quote somewhere. Most people are actually still walking around with their identity and insecurities from their childhood or teenage years. For example, a girl might have glowed up and become more attractive, but in her mind, she still feels shy and insecure because her self-identity hasn't caught up with her external transformation. Or maybe you've bulked up at the gym, learned how to fight, become dangerous and rich, but deep down inside, you're still dealing with insecurities from your past. You're still scared of strangers and you're still scared of girls. And so when you fully understand this, fully enforce this mindset into your life, start observing people, start giving people eye contact. You'll overthink social situations less, you'll put people on pedestals less, and you'll actually start to interact with girls and strangers on a normal human level. That will allow you to be more relaxed and more charismatic. Now, that was a lot. But do you remember what I said about intimidation earlier on? About how you being shy and putting on a serious face to not show that you're awkward, and how you might appear as stoic instead of awkward by doing that. Well, that is actually harming you. That is actually the thing that is making you intimidating and scaring people away, making it really hard for people to talk to you. Because you see, everything I've told you beforehand about the pedestal and the philosophy, the mindset shift, all of that applies to you as well. Meaning, girls and strangers or people that you put on a pedestal also put you on a pedestal. That's a mindset shift. You have to start accepting that people can actually put you on a pedestal. As weird and as unbelievable as that sounds, you have to start respecting yourself. Start seeing yourself as of worth. Especially if you've been hitting gym for a long time, or you've been disciplined, or you've been reading books, or you've been just upgrading your value, if that makes sense, in any way possible. Maybe you've been learning some valuable skills, maybe you've been hitting martial arts, maybe you've been going on runs, working really hard, and becoming really, really attractive. Start to see yourself as someone that gets put on a pedestal, and start to assume that everyone around you is shy and nervous. And when you do that, you'll have much better mental health and a much more positive way of thinking, rather than, oh, the person next to me, that girl, that cute girl, that guy I put on a pedestal, that popular kid, he's not talking to me. Oh, he probably hates me. Instead of thinking that way, why don't you think that they're just shy and that they're just nervous? Especially, and I'll say this again, if you've been upgrading yourself, if you've been on self-improvement. And so in that case, with intimidation and all of this shit, let me show you the actionable step that will make you less intimidating, allow people to talk to you easier without making you seem like a pushover. Now, to explain this actionable step, I want you to imagine me walking into a new college. And this is around my first few times, and I've spotted a girl that I like, and for the next few weeks, they begin exchanging eye contact a lot. From the other side of the classroom, I'm sitting on, I don't know, the left side, she's sitting on the right side of the classroom, so we can't really talk to each other. But nevertheless, whenever we do group activities, when we get up and, I don't know, start packing up, we always manage to catch eye contact. But back then, I didn't really understand what this was, because it was always a blank expression from her. So I could never tell if she liked me, because if she liked me, she would have smiled, right? That's what I thought. And so I let this just occur for a couple more weeks, because I really didn't know what to make of it. Maybe she hated me, maybe she liked me, I don't know. But then one day, of course, something had to change. one day I was walking past a gate of the school with one of my friends, and she was walking past the gate with one of her friends as well. So it's kind of like this exchange. And when this happened, I just decided to give her a little wave, because I think this was one of the first times I actually saw a classmate outside of lessons. So I thought, you know, that was the normal thing to do, just wave at your classmate, right? And after the wave, I expected her to say something, maybe I expected her to smile, but again, she just gave me eye contact with a blank expression on her face. So I couldn't tell what she thought again. So in my mind, she ignored me. And with her ignoring me, for the rest of my day, I was like, oh, why? I'm so worthless. I hate myself. Why am I doing this? But then fast forward to next lesson, and I'm walking into my class. I sit down on my usual table that I sit down. And today was actually a little bit special because no one on my table was there. Everyone was absent for some reason, some magical reason. Only the people on my table were absent. And guess what? The girl that I waved at the other day, she came and sat on my table. And then we actually started talking for the first time, and we did group activity together. And it's very, very hard to describe this feeling to you, but it was kind of like the both of us was high on a cocktail of like easy laughing.
What?
I don't know if that makes sense, but essentially with every single word, we just kind of smiled easily, just laughed easily. And also with the eye contact as well. It was different than any other interaction.
It was almost like the eye contact had meaning behind it. For example, if the teacher says something cringe, we just look at each other and smile. Or if the teacher says a funny joke, we'd look at each other and laugh as well.
On the end of every question or on the end of every sentence in a group activity, we'd just be smiling at each other for no reason at all. Even if it's like the most boring piece of work ever, we'd just be smiling, locking eyes, smiling.
And I'm guessing why that happened was because she did like me, but she was just afraid to show it. And as soon as I gave her that wave at the gate when we were passing by each other, I believe that gave her the signal that I was not a threat, that I wasn't going to reject her right away. And so that allowed her to move to my table and actually start talking to each other.
That small little intention or acknowledgement of her probably broke a lot of beliefs in her mind that, oh, does he not like me? Is he going to reject me straight away if I try to show a little bit of interest? And am I going to get embarrassed in front of everyone? Until I gave that little sign, everything changed. Now, I do have to admit with this scenario, it is a little bit of a rarer one, because this girl that I told you about, she's, I'd say, a little bit more outgoing than other girls. So if you do decide to do this, if you do decide to give a little bit of a wave, a little bit of acknowledgement, it could be like a very little nod or saying hi outside of class. In the next lesson you have together, you might actually find that she is just able to talk to you more. She has more interaction with you, whether that be in the form of answering your question in class or asking you a question or just literally looking at you more. Because I've actually done this with many other girls in other classes before, and generally they all seem to kind of be a little bit more shy than the outgoing girl I told you about. But actually another quick scenario that I can tell you about is with this girl that had a like the resting bitch face, and from the side she looked all like sophisticated and everything when she just didn't smile. And this girl I had been curious about for a decent amount of time now, and I just wanted to talk to her and see what's going on with her. And so after literally procrastinating through the whole lesson, oh, I'll do it in 5 minutes, oh, I'll do it when her friend leaves to go to the toilet, oh, I'll wait until the end of the lesson to do it, I finally managed to do it after fighting in my mind for the whole lesson near the end of the lesson. And after talking to her about, I don't know, some homework, some shit like that, guess what happened? For the next few lessons and to this day, in a lot of the lessons, she just manages to speak to me. And it doesn't even have to be in an interaction, it doesn't have to be a deep conversation, but it's just like she gives me an acknowledgement every lesson now. This, I think, is actually a theory in a book that I've half read called Influence by Robert D. Cialdini, and he's like a psychologist, and he's talking about all the ways that marketing people influence you. And I believe this interaction, this passing by the gate and showing some interest at first, I believe it's called reciprocity. Let's say someone gives you a gift and you feel really, really obliged to give something back to them. If someone gives you a compliment, you immediately give the other guy back a compliment, right? It's just our human nature to give something back to the other person. If someone gives you a gift, you're more inclined to give a gift back next time.
And so this is basically the same with intention or compliments. If you give something to the girl, you throw a little bit of a compliment out there, you throw a little bit of a interest out there, she'll throw something back. And from then on, you can throw something back, 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 and then you have yourself a relationship. But I do have to warn you, all of these tips, although you will see a change when you implement them, they aren't actually solving the main problem that you have. It's like you have a broken house and you literally just decide to tidy up the balcony because you've had some good tip that the balcony will make your house look better, it will be more presentable, and so you paint your balcony and you tidy everything up. It's pretty, but the rest of the house looks like something out of a fucking horror movie. Because you see, your main problem here isn't because you haven't implemented enough tips on confidence or on charisma, it's because you're deeply, innately socially anxious. And no matter how many affirmations or confident boosting tips, you will still just be adding nice decorations to a broken foundation, to a broken house. So if you want to learn how to build proof that you're confident in the easiest way possible, if you want to learn how to fix your broken house, if you want to start finally seeing yourself as a charismatic Chad, click on the video on the screen now and that will show you the best way to build proof that you are confident and therefore become actually confident, instead of pretending to be confident and pretending to be powerful when you're not. See you there.